What it means to be a Muslim in Britain or elsewhere in the world is changing continually. That true democracy and equality are possible only and only if the state is neutral in matters of religion.
There isn't a Muslim country, maybe one or two at best, where you can speak freely. We are not here to judge who is the right kind of Muslim, what you want from your life, from this country, and you use the democratic system to argue, to object, and don't get lost in ways which lead you to dark places.
My faith doesn't define me, my faith refines me. Now whether you have a faith or not, I don't judge anybody. Unless you committed a crime when I was a prosecutor, that's a different story. Nobody's voiceless. That nonsense about, they don't have a voice. They all have a voice, we just don't listen. And we as authorities need to start listening.
It was quite difficult as a child to be yourself. We had an Asian version of ourselves, which we had at home. We had a public version of ourselves, which we had at school. And I came to a point where I realized that I wanted to be my version of me. I didn't want to be your version of me. And I think that's probably where, in many ways, British Muslims started to find it quite difficult to try and start to get society to accept them for the very versions of them. My faith is about who I am, not about who you are. It's a rule book for me, not a forced lecture series for you. Its strength is a source of peace for me, not ammunition with which to fight you. It's a ruler I have chosen to measure myself against, not a stick with which to beat you. It allows me to question myself, not to judge you. And recognizing myself, being sure of who I am, being comfortable in my identity, does not mean having to downgrade, erase, or reject who you are. Because I can only truly accept you for who you are if I am truly sure of who I am. Thank you. When I write about this, chapter 7 of the book is an open conversation with my dear co-religionists, as I call them, where I say, we're not all terrorists, which is what a lot of this book talks about, but are we fit for purpose? Are we the best community we could possibly be in the time that we find ourselves? And I think the challenge that we have is that because we didn't make the changes and raise our game during peacetime, I think we're finding it incredibly difficult to now do it as we have a war around us. And I call it that. I think to be a British Muslim is an incredibly difficult place to be. I've done it in public life. Every aspect of your life is questioned and scrutinised. Because I genuinely believe in the widest possible engagement, almost anybody you speak to is considered to be beyond the pale. We have, through our counter-terrorism policy, disengaged more and more groups and individuals from the democratic process. My view has always been, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, we have a right to at least listen to that. I think the government had a huge opportunity, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass you when I say this, but the government had a huge opportunity when it set up the Extremism Commission.
I am proud, and we're all proud, that bit by bit we are holding up true democratic values, which are not just about the vote. It's about young people, women having their right, their individualism and their individual autonomy respected. It is being able to accept that there are different voices in a complex democracy. It is changing your mind, which is why for me Brexit is such an undemocratic thing, that we are supposed to not carry on talking about it, whereas democracy depends on carrying on talking about it. And I also think that, for me, one of the things we Muslims have got to do, we are lucky to be living here. We are lucky to be living here. It's terribly difficult, okay? But I remember asking some very angry young Muslims who were very angry with this country, and saying this, that and the other, and I'm as angry as them about a lot of stuff. So I said, okay, what Muslim country do you want to go and live in? Say I gave you £5,000 and you could go first class to this country. Where would you go? There was this silence. This was in Bradford. And then two of them said, but Liz, we can't be speaking like this over there. Which told you something, which told you that at present, a day will come when that will change. There isn't a Muslim country, maybe one or two at best, where you can speak freely, where you can exert your democratic independence.
That attack by Salman Abedi in Manchester last May was an attack on women and girls. He chose a concert by Ariana Grande, which was attended by 95% of women and girls. And also members of the LGBT community, Peter, right? He chose that. He could have chosen the Kiss concert, the heavy metal concert 2 days previously, or the wrestling 2 days later. He chose that concert specifically because that was the message he wanted to deliver. Because we know the first victim of a terrorist or extremist is the woman in his own home. That research goes back decades. And that's how we tackle this issue. We tackle this issue not just simply thinking about how we can counter extremism narratives and etc., etc. It's about how we actually deal with the core issues. And one of the core issues is what women and girls have to endure in those families and those communities.